Pokemon. You know them, you love them, or at least I love them, and that's why we're here today. It's been 15 years since its release, so let's talk about Pokemon Black and White. Now real quick, I thought about making this video about Pokemon Diamond, which is the first game in the series I ever played. However, the more I mulled it over, Pokemon Black and White stuck out to me as series-defining games. Not only is it one of my favorite Pokemon games, but it has my favorite story, my favorite artwork, and one of my favorite overworlds. You get the point. I realized I had a lot to say about the game, so let's get right into it. Let's start in the beginning. Pokemon Black and White, for our specific experience, I'm playing Black, which is different for me because my personal game when I was younger was White. For a good reason. I am a Zekrom and Reuniclus lover. I personally think they are much, much cooler, which my friends have been very vocal about how incorrect I am. But I'll die on this hill, damn it. That leads us into our first topic. Let's talk about the Pokemon themselves. This generation is so cool, especially from a conceptual point. One of the few games to have a completely unique national dex. Now at the point of the game's release, there were just shy of 500 Pokemon. 500! For context, we are now over 1,000 Pokemon deep, so Black and White is essentially the halfway point. At this halfway point, they felt what we definitely feel now, which is that it is hard to just pick up a new Pokemon game, especially if you haven't played the previous games. They wanted to remove that barrier to entry, so this game was meant to be a rebooting of the series. That means no Rattata, no Magikarp, and for the first time, and potentially last, no Pikachu. This is Pikachu free, besides some events of course. But they took the plunge, they removed the Ratscott, and they tried to give us a fresh new roster of Pokemon to call their own. Boy howdy did they deliver. Leaning on archetypes that they knew worked in previous games, we got very unique takes on core team members that the players would naturally be attracted to capturing. In particular, I never felt dry for team diversity. I think this definitely stems from extensive opportunities given to the player, like the elemental monkeys making sure that you always have some way to cover your weaknesses, or the constant flow of gym answers right before or near the gym city. For instance, right outside of Nacrene City is Pinwheel Forest, where we get not one, not two, but 3 solid answers for the normal gym leader we're about to face. Timber, Sock, and Throw are all great answers into Lenora and her pesky ass Watchar. Stupid ass Hypnosis, trying to get me to sleep. I can't even sleep when I want to sleep. Who the hell are you to tell me what to do? I am recording this at 3 in the morning. Anyway, that's just one example of the overworld informing the player of options they have, and this game design is consistent throughout the entire game. We also get some great executions on classic archetypes like the powerful Psychic type. We get 2 super cool lines in Reuniclus and Gothita. What I think makes the game exclusive so cool is how different they are. It's not like you're choosing between red or blue of the same creature. It's do you want the Gothic Manipulator, or do you want the Mitosis Pokemon? Both of these are so representative of the Psychic type, while being so distinct from each other. One being a humanoid, and the other being a physiological process. That's so sick! It doesn't stop there. Early in the game, they have us go through a forest section, as is tradition in Pokemon, and in this forest we encounter either Whimsicott or Lilligant. They did it again, 2 such distinct embodiments of nature. One being a Dandelion Pokemon who emphasizes being a nuisance and supporting the rest of the team, and the other being a blossoming sundress of a Pokemon that gets faster in the sun. It's awesome. They're so distinct thematically, but they make so much sense in their respective places. In the later stages of the game, Pokemon likes to have a hard-to-capture Pokemon that evolves technically past the stage of the game that it'd be relevant for. For example, the highest level of a Pokemon you will ever fight is 54. Braviary and Mandibuzz evolve at 54. Very, very telling that they want you to use this Pokemon as late as possible. It only makes sense that the game based on America would leave the 2 most iconic birds in American culture to the end of the game, the eagle and the vulture. Both incredibly symbolic of American archetypes and representative of actual birds native to the region the game is based on. I'm only slightly disappointed that I can only use these sick-ass birds essentially after the game is already over. Now it's time to talk about the design in depth. We've been looking at it the whole time, and I gotta say, I think Black and White is my favorite game art-wise. The attention to detail in the sprite work, the animation, the destinations, it all comes together to make something that feels like a breathing full world. Specifically, let's talk about the overworld. It's distinct and hard to ignore, so we'll start there. The overworld is not your traditional 2D Pokemon game. There are elements of the world that are 3-dimensional. This is not only achieved through some pretty nifty loading zones and cheeky camera work, but through actual 3D models. Not everything, but that slight tilt of the camera as you move around really shows off the space they explored with this blending of styles. We really get to experience this in Castelia City. But it doesn't stop there. Not only do they make sure the camera is interesting, but the visuals in the camera as well. We have fully functioning seasons, not only with overworld tie-ins, but also Pokemon that reflect these season changes in Sawsbuck and Deerling. We have overworld weather, it rains, it's cloudy, it's sunny. We also get such cool locations to explore in Chargestone Cave. The moving electrically charged stones make for such a fun puzzle that will encourage iteration and exploration of such a cool environment. I definitely prefer it over the ice puzzle caves, that's for sure. It's so cool to see that the layout of the world was built on the concept of exploration and discovery. Now this brings me to one of my hotter takes, but most people don't play Pokemon for the challenge. And if you are, there's no shame in that, but the games were not designed with difficulty in mind. This is heavily emphasized in the gym designs, not the gym leaders themselves, but the quote-unquote puzzles in the gyms. None of these are actual puzzles. They are all linear experiences, and that's okay. These are games made for children after all. Therein lies the beauty. They really got to go all out on the layout and camera work in these gyms. Instead of trying to think of thought-provoking puzzles like which trash can has a button or Morse code, we instead get visual displays. The librarian makes you read. The chefs cater to you. The coal baron has you navigating the mine shafts. Why did he send the children into the mine shafts? Not meant to ask something of you, but instead trying to tell you about the character of the leader who would make such a gym and give insight into their world. I am curious who signed off on these though. Did Alder okay the honey walls? What about the cannons that slam you into a wall? Or whatever the hell Drayden's gym is meant to be. I'm not a hater, but if this is meant to represent Draconic rule, what am I meant to be doing? Taming the dragons to bend to my will? I'm unsure, but it was an experience nonetheless. What about the trainers? Are they unfathomably getting it? Are they eating and leaving no crumbs? Are they by chance serving? The answer is yes, absolutely. They are such strong reflections of themselves. They specifically do such a good job of showing you what they're all about. From external design to battle strategy, these gym leaders know how to put on a show. We really get a feel for this from Burr in Castelia City, a man of the arts, known for his skills as a painter and capturing moments that are inspired by nature. We see this both in his beautiful choice of clothing, which leads us into what it represents, or as a bug trainer, if it wasn't obvious enough by the honey walls in his gym, which I think do a good job of putting him on display as well. I see this representing two things: a diversion of expectation, and grabbing a moment to immortalize it. We're forced to slow down and take in everything when we walk through the walls of honey. Not only that, but we're constantly being told to divert our expectations by the entourage of clowns that pop out of buttons. All this to show off Burr's philosophy. Burr is a curious individual, willing to hear out even villains on their own stances, willing to reconcile with his own beliefs in the face of something new. His gym manifests this by encouraging curiosity and acceptance, asking the player to do the same. After Burr, we have someone who is much more unapologetic, but still making sure we know exactly what they're about. You know her, you love her, she's the hottest model on the runway in Nimbasa City. Give it up for Alisa! My god, get a load of her. She's putting everything out there unapologetically. She's either a JoJo stand or a runway model, and there is no in-between. Because she's not beating around the bush, neither will we. Her gym is exactly what you expect it to be. It's hustle, it's bustle, constantly moving in a fierce motion. You ride on exciting, vibrant roller coasters, barreling down your runway towards the big show. The show you pay for is what you get. Alisa the Electric Queen uses electric-type Pokemon and pours herself into her battle strategy. Using what she knows, she teaches her Pokemon to do the same. All three of her Pokemon know Volt Switch. Yes, all three, and it's meant to reflect the fast pace of the runway. The in, the out, the back, the forth, the turn left, the turn right. Sending out her Pokemon, they're constantly rotating around and bringing out one another, showing the beauty and simplicity. With Alisa and her gym, there are no smoke and mirrors. Unlike the next gym leader we're looking at, Bryson knows exactly what it takes to become something else, to become someone else. That is because he is a retired actor, and he's not hiding it. Not with that stuntman martial arts movie robe. He's playing a character, and that character is cold. Even though he's retired, he keeps his old memorabilia with him. His gym is a set for a movie. We have moving parts that set up cool stunts, moving us across the ice in a way that is way cooler than we actually are. They even let us jump the shark. There is no diverging from the choreography either. There's only one path, and that is through. Seriously, there is one way to solve these puzzles, and it is very clear what the solution is. So if you learn your lines and practice your dance steps, this gym is a wrap. However, Bryson has a bit of method acting in his arsenal if we look at his fight scene. All of his Pokemon have something that reflect his time as an actor. Vanillish and Cryogonal both have moves that show how much time Bryson has spent practicing his lines in the mirror. Vanillish with Mirror Shot and Cryogonal with Reflect. These two are here to help him keep up appearances. Even when you don't have it down, you still have to act like it, and that's where Berktic comes in. To be a movie star, you've got to have a bit of swagger. Berktic no swagger. Evermore, I think these gyms and their leaders have such palpable design and thought behind it. From character designs to move pools and type theming, they're meant to show rather than tell. They're not just gyms, they're reflections of their leaders and experiences to put them on full display. Speaking of experiences, let's quickly talk about the story. I don't think any other game has ever insisted upon itself in the way that this game did, and that's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. The fact that the story draws you in and asks you to experience it is lovely. The amount of time they ask you to spend with your supposed villain really starts to cut, not only into establishing a connection, but starting a narrative. This is not your run-of-the-mill cartoon villain. Sure, Ghetsis is a bit of a Shakespearean king, but Inn does an amazing job of not only telling you what he believes, but asking you what you believe. They do this multiple times throughout the story, and it slightly changes the tone of your engagement. Not an actual engagement, even though you do go on a pretty romantic Ferris wheel ride with Inn. But it's harder to just dismiss him. He believes in something so clearly and has been misguided his entire life, but that hasn't stopped him from actively trying to make the world a better place. He's not trying to rule the world, he's trying to save it. Which makes the plot of the game not trying to stop a force of evil, but instead trying to guide someone back to the light. And, spoilers, we succeed. We get in to see that there are many ways to live life and that he is now free to choose how he lives his. Ultimately, Black and White is not a story about you. Instead, this is a story about ideals, ideas, and influence. You guide Bianca to see past her limitations and to try and find her place in the world. You give perspective to Charon by never letting his short-sighted goals win out. And you give Inn a second chance to see that not everything is so black and white. Cheesiness aside, Black and White is one of my favorite games, and for good reason. You can tell that this world was designed in mind for being someone's first Pokemon game. From the visuals, to the story, down to the message. This game was meant to be an experience that was meant to make everlasting Pokemon fans. And in a way it did. 15 years ago, I played Pokemon White for the first time, and I have loved the series since. I was a child then, and I couldn't quite grasp everything that was being put on display for me. But there was just something so familiar about it, as if this game was specifically for me. In a way it was. It was based on where I was from, and unlike any other Pokemon game, it had one simple message. Go find out who you are. And I did.
Why the fuck are there so many stall teams in a children's game?
Thank y'all for watching, and if you enjoy what you saw or ever want to see what I do to capture the footage for these, you can catch me live at twitch.tv/Embrace. Come say hi.